Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Lexa Peterson, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Flight Lieutenant Harrison Page. This evening, we warmly welcome the delegation of senior police officers and members from police jurisdictions from around the country, joining us this evening to mark the eve of National Police Remembrance Day. This significant day commemorates all those Australian police officers who have been killed on duty or have died as a result of their duties. We will shortly share the story of Corporal Claude Castree. Prior to his enlistment in the Australian Imperial Force during the First World War, Castree served as a constable in the Queensland Police Service. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services Leagues of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. Now, if you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is God by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record that they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Claude Edward Castree. Claude Castree was born in Blackall, Central Queensland, on the 13th of July, 1892. He was the fourth of 6 children of John and Clara Castree, one of whom died in infancy. Claude attended a local school. His mother died when he was 10 years old. After leaving school, Castree joined the Queensland Police Force, serving as a constable in Townsville and Kynuna, and at Roma Street Police Station in Brisbane. After Germany invaded Belgium, Britain declared war in August 1914. Castree volunteered for service in the Australian Imperial Force in August 1915. A month later, he departed Brisbane on board the transport ship Armidale. He joined the 25th Battalion at the training camps in Egypt in early February 1916. In March, the unit sailed to Marseille and travelled north by train to the Somme River in northern France. The 25th Battalion entered the trenches almost immediately and spent its first several months on the Western Front, alternating between the front line and training in rear areas. In the middle of June 1916, the unit was in frontline trenches near Messines in Belgium when the men came under machine gun fire and a heavy bombardment by German artillery. A bullet wounded Castree in his left arm and he was evacuated to the hospital in England. Once he had recovered, he returned to France, where he was transferred to the 49th Battalion. Castree was an effective soldier and was promoted to Lance Corporal in December, then to Corporal in January 1917. In March 1917, German forces staged a strategic withdrawal across the Western Front to a stronger defensive line. The 49th Battalion was one of many Australian units that followed up this withdrawal. In early April, the battalion attacked and captured the French village of Narroy. After the battle, Castree was granted 2 weeks' leave in England. When he returned to his unit, it had moved north as British commanders sought to occupy areas of higher ground in Belgium. The men of the 49th Battalion went into battle again at the town of Messines in June 1917. Castree was wounded, struck in his left shoulder by enemy fire. He recovered in hospital in France and returned to his battalion in September. In December 1917, Castree was selected to train other Australian soldiers. He left his unit and travelled to England, where he learned how to use the Lewis light machine gun in January. For the first half of 1918, he trained soldiers at the Rifle and Lewis Machine Gun School in Tidworth on Salisbury Plain in England. By the summer of 1918, Allied forces were preparing for a major offensive across the length of the Western Front. In July, Castree rejoined the 49th Battalion in France as part of the preparations. In early August, the unit moved into reserve lines outside the French city of Amiens, part of a large force including Canadian and British Army units. On the 8th of August, the Allied forces made a significant advance, capturing some 16,000 German troops. In the days following the battle, Australian forces carried out smaller attacks to straighten the line. In one such action, the 49th Battalion, with American allies, successfully captured a bend in the Somme River at the village of Etienne. On the day after this battle, Castree was wounded either by German shelling or machine gun fire. He was evacuated to an advanced dressing station, but died of his wounds the next day, the 15th of August, 1918. Claude Castree was 26 years old. Castree was originally buried in a small military cemetery near where he fell, but after the war, the graves were consolidated. His remains were reburied in Villers-Bretonneux Military Cemetery, alongside more than 2,000 Commonwealth service personnel of the First World War. His grieving father chose the inscription, "To live in hearts we leave behind is not to die." Claude's older brother also served in the AIF. Private John Henry Castree served in France with the 15th Battalion and was killed in action at Mouquet Farm in September 1916. Corporal Claude Edward Castree is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Claude Edward Castree, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post-ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.